Well, folks, America finally ended its 41-day government shutdown, longest in history. That's right, the Senate passed a bill so fragile it makes a wet paper towel look like titanium. Democrats started this fight over health care subsidies and ended it with a promise, which in Washington means we'll talk about it never. Planes got grounded, SNAP cards got snapped, and somehow Trump found time to pardon everybody but the turkey. Meanwhile, the BBC learned you don't mess with his perfect speeches. So yeah, the government's open again, just in time to shut down emotionally. Well, folks, the Supreme Court just told 42 million Americans to go on a diet. They froze SNAP benefits during the longest government shutdown in history. You got kids hungry, old folks worried, and Pam Bondi out there celebrating like she just won the Hunger Games. The administration says paying people would cause irreparable harm. Yeah, because feeding the poor might make the government look humane. It's like watching 3 branches of government play hot potato with lunch money. At this rate, the new food pyramid's just one big triangle of despair.
Well, hey y'all, welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News, where I try to explain America while also trying not to burn my eyebrows off. So the 43-day shutdown finally ended. But buddy, the aftermath looks rougher than a possum with mange. Folks ain't got SNAP benefits, airports still acting like somebody unplugged them, and now we got another fiscal cliff coming January 30th. And the president just ditched them grocery tariffs 'cause beef went up 50%. 50! At that point, you're not buying steak, you're taking out a loan. Coffee, bananas, tea, everything's so high my grocery bill needs a parachute. Even MAGA world's mad now. When Marjorie Taylor Greene starts yelling about affordability, you know the wheels come off the wagon. America's basically a yard sale in a tornado. Everything's flying, nothing's priced right, and the whole thing might start again next month. Welcome back to Poorly Educated News, where logic's on vacation, and Congress forgot to leave a note. Folks, the 41-day government shutdown is finally over. America's longest. The Senate voted 60-40 to end it, thanks to 8 Democrats who folded faster than a dollar store lawn chair in a hurricane. They didn't even get healthcare subsidies in return, just a pinky promise. Meanwhile, air traffic controllers worked unpaid till the sky looked like bumper cars, and 42 million SNAP recipients got told to fast for freedom. The Democrats are fighting each other harder than they fought Trump, who's calling this a very good package. Yeah, it's real good. If you like your democracy served cold with a side of humiliation. Well, folks, the voters just sent Donald Trump a message so loud you could hear it clear from the bottom of Mar-a-Lago's buffet table. Democrats didn't just win. They opened up a whole can of whoop-ass labeled Return to Sender. Virginia flipped blue faster than a Smurf at a Trump rally. New Jersey voters told Trump's endorsed guy, "Thanks, but we already got enough reality TV." And in New York City, Zohran Mamdani became mayor and told Trump to turn the volume up, which is bold considering that man's hair already picks up AM radio. Meanwhile, California voters basically passed a proposition to gerrymander the gerrymanderers, like a political Uno reverse card. And Trump? He blamed the losses on the shutdown that he caused. That's like setting your house on fire and then complaining about the smoke alarm. Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News, where I connect the dots 'cause Washington keeps losing the pin. America hit a whole new level of, oh Lord, what now, today. First, Congress cracked open the Epstein files, and suddenly everybody in D.C. started sweating like gravy at a church potluck. Then Trump signs it, and somehow turns transparency into, I'll show you yours when I'm done investigating mine. Overseas, Russia's firing missiles, America's shutting embassies, and Trump's buddies are out here negotiating peace deals like they're trading used trucks. And while all that's burning, Dick Cheney's funeral turned into the GOP's high school reunion where nobody talks anymore. America ain't a country today. It's a group project where everyone forgot the assignment. So the 43-day shutdown finally ended, which is great, because I was about one more day away from trying to pay my light bill with beef jerky and a handshake. Congress passed something called H.R. 5371, which sounds like a robot model, but apparently just means turn the government back on till January. And they're calling this a ceasefire, but buddy, it looks more like when two raccoons stopped fighting because they heard a garbage truck. Democrats blinked, Republicans did victory laps, and the rest of us just want snap cards that ain't emptier than my cousin's resume. All I know is if this was a crisis autopsy, the cause of death was politics with intent.
All right, y'all. Welcome to Poorly Educated Today in the News, where the world's on fire, but we're still cooking with bacon grease. So Trump just made Saudi Arabia a super turbo mega ally and got $1 trillion, more zeros than my high school report card. Meanwhile, MTG's madder than a possum in a dishwasher over them Epstein files. RFK Jr.'s over at the CDC saying, well, maybe vaccines do something. And Trump's suing states 'cause their robots got too woke. I swear, this ain't foreign policy no more. It's a NASCAR race where the cars are on fire and everyone's driving backward.
Welcome back to the Poorly Educated Today in the News. Lord have mercy. Today felt like America tried to do a backflip on a lawnmower again. We got judges throwing out Trump's indictments because the prosecutor was about as legally qualified as my Uncle Bubba after 3 natty lights. We got Trump telling the military to behave while he parks an aircraft carrier next to Venezuela like he's reserving a fishing spot. And Ukraine? Trump's over there making him sign a peace deal with Russia like he's negotiating a used truck price. Meanwhile, tariffs hitting the economy so hard, even my wallet flinched. Boy, if this ain't a global risk rodeo, saddle up, 'cause the bull ain't slowing down.
Welcome back to the Poorly Educated Today in the News. Boy, today's report says America's having a constitutional crisis, a GOP breakup, and a possible war with China all at once. That ain't a news day. That's a Walmart Black Friday. Congress yelling sedition, Trump threatening folks, MTG quitting like she lost a bar fight, Japan and China squaring up, and somehow the stock market's happier than a possum in a dumpster. If this is stability, I want instability with airbag.
Day 40 of the world's longest We Ran Out of Adult Supervision contest, also known as the U.S. government shutdown. Planes ain't flying, folks ain't eating, and Congress is still sitting around arguing over who gets to hold the lighter for the dumpster fire. The FAA says they're cutting flights to keep us safe. Meanwhile, 42 million Americans are stuck in a food fight between lawyers and politicians. Except there's no food, just fight. The president's solution? Send money direct to the people for health care. Buddy, that's not health care. That's a GoFundMe with extra steps. At this point, even the CBO's calculator gave up and joined a union. I don't know if we're on the brink or already off it, but someone better pass the budget before we start eating airline peanuts for.
Y'all, Harvard's been hit by something stranger than a possum riding a Roomba. Around 3 a.m., 2 masked geniuses in ski masks, plaid PJs, and gray Crocs blew up part of Harvard Medical School's Goldenson building, then vanished faster than your cousin at child support court. Witnesses say they were 2 bangs 5 minutes apart, like the bomb couldn't make up its mind. Do I want to explode now or after my morning coffee? Cops say it wasn't a traditional bomb, which in Boston probably means it came with oat milk. But get this, the real explosion happened online. While the building went boom, a fake news site from Kansas started saying it never happened. So now the FBI is chasing crock-wearing bombers and digital ghosts. Folks, when the suspects dress for bedtime and commit crimes before breakfast, that's not just news, that's strange in the news. Welcome back to the Poorly Educated Today in the News, where even Thanksgiving can't mind its own business. So D.C. had a National Guard shooting right by the White House, which ain't exactly the holiday spirit, unless your family dinners usually end in fireworks and felony charges. They say the shooter was some ex-CIA-trained Afghan commando, which makes me wonder why my cousin Trevor, who once lost a fistfight with a frozen ham, is allowed in public, but highly trained folks slip through. Now the government's slamming shut every immigration door like it's Black Friday at Walmart, and they're out of TVs. I swear, every time Washington tries to fix something, we all end up needing therapy, duct tape, or both. Welcome back, y'all. Today in the news, Thanksgiving got jump scared harder than my uncle when the deep fryer caught fire. Some fella drove cross country just to ambush National Guard troops in D.C., which is wild, 'cause I barely drive across town for biscuits. Now they're adding more soldiers, more fences, probably gonna put metal detectors around the cranberry sauce. And the politicians, they're blaming everybody but themselves. Classic holiday tradition. I swear. Welcome to Poorly Educated Weird in the News, where America proves it'll fight harder for novelty drinkware than democracy itself. Starbucks dropped a $30 glass cup shaped like a honey bear, and by sunrise folks were lined up like it was the caffeine apocalypse. Some waited since 4 a.m. I ain't waited that long for anything except a fishing bite and a Popeye's sandwich. One Houston store saw a full-blown barista brawl. Police called in over a cup with a beanie. On eBay, that little glass bear went from $29.95 to $450 faster than my cousin Larry's truck depreciated. Meanwhile, baristas allegedly bought them all before opening. Barista Gate. Moral of the story? In 2025, if you want to see true market forces at work, don't look at Wall Street. Look at Starbucks on Bear Cup Day. Well, folks, it's official. The 42-day government shutdown is over, the longest one in U.S. history. That's right. The old government finally turned the lights back on after a month and a half of blaming each other in the dark. President Trump's calling it a very big victory, which is kind of like claiming you won a chili cook-off after burning down the kitchen. Turns out this victory bill forces him to undo his own layoffs and actually pay people again. Imagine that. It even restores food stamps, so America can finally afford ramen noodles and ketchup packets again. Democrats are fighting like family at Thanksgiving, half calling it betrayal, the other half saying, "At least Grandma can eat now." Meanwhile, Trump's suing the BBC for $1 billion. Venezuela's mad. The BBC's head quit, and Ghislaine Maxwell's reportedly asking for a pardon. So yeah, America's back open for business, and chaos is on clearance.
Well, folks, it's official. After 42 long days, the government's reopening. That's right. America's longest ever shutdown finally ended when a handful of Democrats said, "Fine, we give up." And Republicans said, "Cool, we'll take that victory lap now." They called it a compromise. But if that's a compromise, then my cousin's ex-wife marrying her pool boy was a family merger. The deal gives paychecks back to furloughed workers and funds food stamps, so great news. TSA can stop shaking vending machines for snacks. But the big sticking point, the healthcare subsidies, got replaced with a promise of a vote later. You know, one of those political pinky swears that means less than a gas station burrito's best buy date. So congratulations, America. We ended a historic shutdown by kicking the can so far down the road it landed in next year's election. Welcome back, y'all. Today's news smells like burnt bologna and broken promises. So the 43-day shutdown finally ended, longest in history. Congress basically said, "Uncle," except nobody admits they lost. Democrats fought for health care but folded like wet cardboard when flights got canceled and folks got hangry. Republicans strutted off like they won WrestleMania by just sitting there doing nothing. And now everything's still broken. Airports jammed, SNAP delayed, workers unpaid. Shoot, this ain't an ending. It's halftime at a disaster rodeo.
Welcome back, folks, to Poorly Educated Today in the News, where we explain the news the only way we know how, loudly, confusedly, and with snacks. Man, today America's in what fancy folks call a poly-crisis, which I think is when everything catches fire but you still blame your neighbor's cat. Trump's saying the affordability crisis is a big old con job, while also yanking back tariffs 'cause groceries cost more than a used bass boat. J.D. Vance and Marjorie Taylor Greene are fighting him like it's WrestleMania. She's waving grocery charts, he's yelling about making missiles with folks off the unemployment line. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to buy bananas without taking out a loan.
Welcome back to Poorly Educated Weird in the News, where reality puts moonshine in its cereal. Today, an eagle in North Carolina dropped a whole cat through a lady's windshield, proving even wildlife does drive-bys now. Meanwhile, a Missouri judge quit after playing Elvis on the bench, thank you very much. And folks in Tennessee are paying good money to cuddle turkeys instead of roasting them. And somewhere in Thailand, a woman woke up in her coffin, which is one way to skip the hospital bill. Wild day, y'all.
Welcome back, y'all. Today in the news, we got Uncle Sam rearranging the kitchen like he lost a bet at Home Depot. Boy, howdy, the government's having itself a yard sale. Trump done started taking the Department of Education apart like it's a busted lawnmower, handing pieces to Labor, Interior, and even the State Department. Meanwhile, Congress passed that Epstein Files thing 427-1. Which is the closest DC's come to agreeing since someone brought free donuts. And Trump welcomed MBS to the White House, selling him nukes and jets like it's Black Friday at the bomb depot. At this point, I'm just waiting for somebody to announce student loans been moved to Bass Pro Shop. Welcome back to the Poorly Educated Today in the News, where we explain a national constitutional meltdown the same way my cousin Bubba explains NASCAR crashes. Loudly, proudly, and with zero regard for physics. Brother, the president's calling Democrats seditious, the courts are telling him to calm his britches, and Europe's mad we tried to fix Ukraine with a Sharpie. Meanwhile, the military's playing tug-of-war over who they gotta listen to. I ain't saying the Republic's in danger, but even my waffle maker just declared independence. Lord have mercy, Washington's hotter than bacon grease on a cast iron skillet. Both parties started flinging Epstein files like they're running a political yard sale. Everything must go, especially your reputation. Democrats dropped emails saying Trump was the dog that ain't barked, which, buddy, where I'm from, means you know something but your mouth's shut tighter than a pickle jar. Then Republicans answered with 20,000 pages of, see, everybody did something. Meanwhile, Trump calls it a hoax. DOJ starts investigating everybody except the people asking why the files ain't out yet, and survivors are standing there going, hey, y'all, remember us? At this point, the only thing bipartisan is the mess. Welcome back to the Poorly Educated Today in the News, where we explain America's economic collapse using the same logic I use to justify buying fireworks instead of paying my light bill. Folks, the economy says we're doing great, but my wallet looks like it's been on a hunger strike since 2019. Prices cooled down, but they cooled down on top of a 25% price jump, kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a shark bite. Wages went up a smidge, but rent went up a, y'all ain't serious amount. Student loans hit harder than a mule with attitude, credit cards are screaming, and buying a house now requires ancestral.
Welcome back to the Poorly Educated Today in the News. Lord help us. The whole world cracked like my Uncle Bubba's boat hull after he tried to outrun a thunderstorm. America's pushing a Ukraine peace plan folks say looks like it was faxed straight from Moscow. Our allies are yelling, absolutely not. And back home, Marjorie Taylor Greene quit Congress saying she ain't nobody's battered wife. Whew, buddy, when MTG jumps ship, that ain't a red flag. That's a red carpet to chaos.
Welcome back to the Poorly Educated Today in the News, where we explain American politics using the same logic you'd use to guess which cousin stole your lawnmower. Brother, the MAGA world cracked like my Uncle Randy's fifth marriage. Marjorie Taylor Greene up and quit Congress after Trump called her Marjorie Traitor Brown. Yeah, he color changed her like a mood ring. She said she ain't being no battered wife, which is wild, 'cause I thought the whole party was one big group text of folks apologizing to Trump for breathing. Now the GOP's holding the House with fewer votes than my family reunion cornhole tournament. Even the economy's wobbling like a three-legged goat on a trampoline. Politics ain't just broken, it's leaking like a screen door bass boat. Welcome back to the Poorly Educated Today in the News, where we explain world chaos the same way my uncle explains his fifth divorce, loudly and with no regard for facts. So Trump's meeting a socialist mayor, threatening senators with hanging, botching the Comey case like he filled out the indictment in crayon, and pitching Ukraine a peace plan Putin probably wrote on a cocktail napkin. Whew, buddy, this ain't a poly crisis. This is a NASCAR crash in slow motion. Welcome back, y'all. Today in the news, the world's spinning faster than my cousin Earl after 2 Four Locos. Trump's dropping ultimatums like he's Black Friday shopping, telling Ukraine, take this deal by Thanksgiving or the gravy dries up. MTG quit after he called her traitor, which honestly is the nicest thing he said to anybody all week. Then he yelled, sedition punishable by death, at some veterans for saying follow the law. And he yanked Somali TPS just 'cause Minnesota made him mad. Brother, this ain't a presidency. It's a clearance sale on sanity.
Welcome back to the Poorly Educated Trump in the News. Y'all, the president woke up on November 29 and said, let's speedrun a constitutional crisis. First thing he did was hop on Truth Social and tell airlines, pilots, drug dealers, and human traffickers that Venezuelan airspace was closed. That's right, airspace closed by tweet. Even my cousin Randy can't close his own shed, and he's got one hinge. Then Trump froze asylum, declared Biden's auto pen illegal, and launched the new Gold Card program, where you can basically buy a green card like it's a Mega Millions ticket. It's like he's rebuilding America using duct tape, vibes, and whatever he finds on the Mar-a-Lago dinner menu. Welcome back, y'all, to Poorly Educated, Today in the News. The show where I try to make sense of world events, armed with nothing but sweet tea and a questionable GED. Brother, America's doing cartwheels through chaos this week. Whew. Trump dropped a Ukraine peace plan thicker than my Aunt Cheryl's lasagna, hugged a socialist like they were trading Pokemon cards, called Congress seditious for telling the troops to follow the law, and MTG quit 'cause loyalty apparently ain't a two-way dirt road. Then he yanked Somali protections in Minnesota and traded China tariffs for fentanyl chemicals like it was a flea market swap. I ain't saying it's wild, but even my rooster woke up and said, nope, not today.
Welcome back to the Poorly Educated Today in the News, where America's falling apart faster than my cousin Earl's third marriage. This week we got a DC shootout, a migration pause big enough to make the Statue of Liberty pack her bags, Venezuela turning into the world's spiciest piñata, and Trump yelling that Biden's auto pen was basically Skynet. I swear, I ain't seen this much chaos since Pawpaw deep-fried fireworks. America, buddy, you okay?
Well, folks, looks like healthcare just went from barely affordable to hold my moonshine while I pass out from the bill. Premiums for 2026 are shooting up 26% on average, higher than my cholesterol after the county fair. And them fancy GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic, they're so pricey, even the pharmacists are taking out payment plans. Now, Congress is arguing over whether to keep the subsidies that made this whole mess tolerable. If they don't act, your premium's gonna double faster than your blood sugar after a funnel cake. One day you're paying $888 a year. Next year it's $1,900. And that's before your deductible starts mocking you in the mail. They call it the subsidy cliff. I call it the moment America's wallet went skydiving without a parachute. Welcome back. Today in the news, the whole country's running hotter than my Uncle Earl's deep fryer on Thanksgiving. The president's calling veterans in Congress seditious for telling troops not to follow illegal orders. Buddy, this administration throws around treason like it's Mardi Gras beads. Meanwhile, a judge told Trump he can't park 2,300 troops in D.C. like it's his personal lawn gnome collection. And he reversed Brazil coffee tariffs because Americans finally snapped at $9 gas station cappuccinos. Man, if this is governance, I want a refund. Well, hey y'all. Welcome back to Poorly Educated Weird in the News, where nature, science, and questionable home design all tag team your sanity. Now look here. Out in Colorado, two lovesick mule deer bucks got so fired up during the rut that they knocked each other straight into a basement gym. I ain't kidding. These boys were fighting like their brains got replaced with their own gonads, 'cause apparently that's a thing. Next thing you know, they bust through the window like deer-shaped Kool-Aid men. Homeowner walks downstairs like, "Who skipped leg day in my house?" CPW sedated him. Firefighters hauled him out on a mega mover, which is basically a redneck tarp with handles. I got cousins who use those to move sleepin' uncles at Thanksgiving. Deer got tagged, released, and will absolutely do this again, 'cause biology don't care about property values. Well, folks, the 41-day government shutdown is finally over. That's right. The longest in U.S. history ended not with a handshake, but with a nervous twitch. The Senate passed a deal to reopen the government, and Trump called it a very good deal, which is code for, I got everything I wanted and I'm still complaining. Democrats, meanwhile, are split wider than a church pew on bingo night. 8 of them crossed the aisle faster than a squirrel dodging traffic, and now their base is madder than a rooster in a wind tunnel. See, they didn't get their big healthcare subsidies, just a promise for a vote later, which in Washington means when pigs graduate from flight school. Meanwhile, Trump's over here suing the BBC for $1 billion, meeting with the president of Syria, and pardoning half his old reality show cast.
Well, howdy, y'all. Welcome back to the Poorly Educated News, where we read global politics the same way we read barbecue instructions. Mostly wrong, but confidently. So the UN passed something called Resolution 2803, which sounds like a tractor engine, but turns out it puts Trump in charge of Gaza, like he's running the world's spiciest HOA. They're sending an international stabilization force, which is basically peacekeepers, but with paperwork. Hamas already said nope. Israel said maybe. And China and Russia said, we'll just sit here and judge. Shoot, this plan's got more moving parts than my cousin's lawnmower, powered by Mountain Dew fumes. Whew. Well, folks, here's your weird news of the day. Some poor fellow went viral after realizing halfway through his job interview that the lady grilling him wasn't human. She was an AI avatar. He said her head kept bobbing like a dashboard Jesus, and when he asked a deep question, she just replayed the same answer 3 times, like interviewing a broken GPS. Turns out, companies are using these bots to save time. Yeah. Nothing says efficiency like traumatizing your applicants into existential crisis. One Redditor said, if the interviewer can be AI, candidates should be too. Shoot, Next thing you know, it's robots interviewing robots. Just one long, awkward silence, forever.
Well, howdy, folks. Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News, where I explain big government messes in small brain terms. Now listen here. That 43-day shutdown finally ended, and somehow, everything got worse. It's like quitting drinking but keeping the hangover. Planes still backed up, SNAP benefits showing up like a drunk ex, late, confused, and texting, "You up?" Meanwhile, folks need heat, but lie heaps still frozen solid, colder than my cousin Earl's ex-wife's heart. And Democrats and Republicans are fighting so hard, I'm surprised the Capitol ain't on WrestleMania. They say this is just a ceasefire, which is politician talk for see y'all again in January when everything explodes twice as loud. Well, folks, looks like old Donnie's presidency just hit a triple threat meltdown. The Democrats won big. The government's been shut down longer than my cousin Ricky's meth lab. And now the Supreme Court's looking at Trump's tariffs like a raccoon sniffing spoiled leftovers. 36 days of no paychecks. Prices higher than a kite at Coachella. And Trump's answer is, end the filibuster. Like duct taping a flat tire to fix the engine. Even his own senators told him, nah, boss. Now the court might yank away his favorite toy, executive power. At this rate, he'll need a fourth crisis just to balance the table.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News, where I sort through the political mess so you don't got to bring a shovel. Man, today the White House is getting hit harder than my cousin Earl after he tried riding a bull named tax fraud. We got Epstein emails flying around, Republicans and Democrats teaming up like some kind of political buddy cop movie, and Trump yelling hoax so loud I'm surprised the BBC didn't sue him back for noise pollution. Meanwhile, he's cooking up a war with Venezuela like it's a backyard chili contest, except this pot might actually explode. And don't forget his new homelessness plan. Apparently, housing first has been replaced by good luck, buddy. I swear, this presidency looks like a 4-car pileup where all 4 cars were already on fire.
Well, folks, it's election day, and America's doing what it does best. Arguing, breaking stuff, and hoping somebody's counting votes with both eyes open. We got bomb threats in Jersey, busted poll books in Pennsylvania, and a government so shut down it's starting to fossilize. 42 million people can't get food stamps, but hey, Microsoft just shipped a mountain of AI chips to Dubai, so somebody's eating good. Trump's approval's sitting at 37%, which coincidentally is also the number of people still working in D.C. And bless his heart, Dick Cheney passed away. Probably looking down from heaven saying, well, at least my wars had funding. America's at a crossroads, y'all. And both directions are labeled detour. All right, folks, welcome to Today in the News. And oh boy, America is so close to the edge we're practically hanging off by a loose shoelace. The shutdown ended 2 days ago, and instead of taking a nap like a normal country, we jumped straight into an Epstein Files explosion, a DOJ showdown, and a deportation blitz so big Charlotte already called it an invasion. Trump's yelling hoax, Congress is yelling hand it over, DHS is yelling mission accomplished, and the economy's yelling please stop. If chaos burned calories, we'd all be runway models right now.
Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News, where the country's gone from Turkey Day to DEF CON, y'all, in record time. Washington had a shooting, so now we're sending troops everywhere like it's a yard sale of patriotism. Asylums paused too, which I guess means we're saving freedom, but only for folks already inside the fence. I ain't saying things are tense, but even my mailbox put its hands up this morning. America's so militarized now, I sneezed and 3 drones asked for ID.
Well, butter my biscuits and call me bipartisan. America just handed Trump a whoopin' big enough to knock the spray tan off. After 36 days of the government being shut tighter than a pickle jar at a church picnic, the Democrats rolled in like a Costco-sized blue tsunami. Virginia elected Abigail Spanberger, New Jersey stuck with Mickey Sherrill, and New York City went full progressive with a fella named Zohran Mamdani, first Muslim mayor, youngest ever, and probably the only politician who can afford rent in that town. It's a bad day for Trump, who now knows what it feels like to lose 4 states faster than he can say election interference. Folks didn't care about border walls or crime talk. They cared about paychecks, prices, and why the government's about as functional as a gas station Slurpee machine in July. Well, butter my biscuits and call me strategic deterrence. It's time for Today in the News. So Washington done fired up Operation Southern Spear, which sounds less like diplomacy and more like a WWE move your cousin performs before somebody goes to the ER. We got carriers, Marines, drones, and probably that one uncle who thinks his bass boat counts as naval support. Meanwhile, Maduro's hollering about guerrilla war, and Trump's saying he might talk to him, which is redneck for I ain't saying yes, but I ain't saying no. Whole thing's hotter than a gas station burrito left on the dashboard. Let's hope cooler heads prevail before somebody pokes the hornet's nest twice. Welcome back to the Poorly Educated, Today in the News. So today the president beat the Georgia case like it was a busted lawnmower. The DOJ tried arresting his enemies but tripped over its own shoelaces, and now he's threatening Canada and Mexico with tariffs unless they stop all drugs, migrants, and probably maple syrup. Meanwhile, he's thinking about letting health costs explode unless someone trades him a political coupon. Only in America do we call this normal and still argue about turkey prices.
Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News, where the world's on fire and somehow I'm still barefoot. Well, folks, today Trump flipped more positions than a possum on a hot trampoline. First, he's yelling, "Release the Epstein files," which is wild because yesterday he was hiding them like they were Grandma's secret pie recipe. Then he rolled back grocery tariffs because bananas cost more than car payments. And while he's doing all that, he's sending a giant aircraft carrier to Venezuela like he's returning a Walmart item without a receipt. I ain't saying it's chaos, but even my cousin Earl said dang, and he once lost a fight to a goat.
All right, folks, here's the big news. The Supreme Court just handed me, your favorite president, a temporary win on SNAP benefits. The so-called hunger court wanted me to feed everybody during the shutdown, and I said, "Excuse me, that's Congress's job. I'm too busy saving the economy by closing it." Justice Jackson hit pause, which means 42 million Americans get to play a fun little guessing game. Dinner or dumpster dive? Some liberal judge in Rhode Island told me to find the money. I told him, "Buddy, I already found it. It's at Mar-a-Lago. Come and get it." And now Democrats are whining, "Trump wants the poor to starve." Wrong. I just want them to diet. It's patriotic. Keeps inflation low, morale high, and my steaks rare.
Man, today's news looks like somebody dumped politics, drama, and grocery prices into a blender and forgot the lid. Trump's fighting Marjorie Taylor Greene like it's WrestleMania, MAGA divorce edition. She's yelling, "I worship God," and he's yelling, "You're far left," which is funny because I ain't even sure she knows where left is on a map. Meanwhile, Trump's telling the DOJ to investigate everybody remotely shaped like a Democrat, which is wild because we still ain't finished the last 5 investigations he started before breakfast. And then, bam, he drops tariffs faster than my cousin drops his vape when the cops roll by. Turns out prices went up because of the tariffs, and Trump finally said, "They maybe sorta might have kinda caused it." That's politician for, "I messed up." All this because the Epstein files are about to bust open, like a piñata at a biker bar. Buckle up, y'all. It's only November. Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News, where we explain world chaos using the same brainpower it takes to butter toast with a chainsaw. Today, Trump's rebuilding America by tearing everything down first, like one of them open-concept kitchens, except the walls are Venezuela, Ukraine, the Justice Department, birthright citizenship, and public education. He's poking Maduro with a carrier strike group, shoving Ukraine toward peace, firing prosecutors like they're Applebee's waitstaff, and turning tariffs into a national sport. Even Republicans said, "Dang, man, ease up. If this is Reconstruction, my barn's in better shape."
Welcome back to the Poorly Educated Today in the News. Y'all, America just tried to cook up a peace deal for Ukraine so messy it makes my Aunt Brenda's Jell-O salad look strategic. We got Trump setting a Thanksgiving deadline like world peace is a Walmart doorbuster. Russia bombing Kiev like they're arguing over who gets the last roll. And Europe begging us to stop using real estate developers as diplomats. Buddy, this ain't a treaty. It's a potluck where nobody brought food.
Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News, where confusion ain't just a state, it's a lifestyle. So, turns out we got two Epstein files. Kinda like ordering fries and getting two totally different potatoes. The 2024 batch was sworn testimony saying Trump ain't do nothing. Then, 2025 drops, and suddenly, Epstein's emails are like, "Oh yeah, Trump knew everything." Man, Epstein's ghost out here contradicting people harder than my cousin trying to explain child support. Trump called it a hoax, yelled Russia a few times, and then started fighting Marjorie Taylor Greene like they're battling over the last jet ski at the lake. Whole DOJ even did a U-turn so sharp it needed new tires. This ain't news. It's a carnival ride with no seatbelts. Well, y'all, President Trump done declared himself the new kingmaker of New York City. Because when you can't fix the government shutdown, why not try fixing someone else's election? He told 60 Minutes he'd rather back a bad Democrat than a communist. That's right, Andrew Cuomo, fresh off political rehab, just got adopted by MAGA daddy himself. Meanwhile, Curtis Sliwa, the poor Republican candidate, got tossed out faster than a cat at a dog show. Trump even warned he might withhold federal funds from the Big Apple if it votes wrong. Now, I'm no lawyer, but I'm pretty sure threatening a whole city is not how checks and balances work. It's more like how mob collections do. But hey, this is Trump's America. Vote my way or pay your own potholes.
Folks, it's a beautiful day in America if you're rich, famous, or happen to be me. They say I'm fighting hunger, and that's true. I'm fighting hungry people in court. Tremendous victory. Whew. The fake news says 42 million Americans can't eat, but that's called intermittent fasting. Very trendy at Mar-a-Lago. A judge said I have to pay full food stamps, but I said no, we're doing 65%. It's like a diet plan for the whole country. Democrats say it's cruel. I say it's discipline. They're mad I posted no food till you open government. Sorry, that's called negotiating. Meanwhile, I gave billionaires in Miami $50 gift cards for shrimp cocktails. We're feeding the economy, not the poor. Tremendous priorities. Okay, folks, welcome to Trump in the News, the show where I take a victory lap through total disaster. We're on shutdown day 34. Longest in history, biggest in the world. Everybody's saying it. They said food benefits were gone for 42 million people. And I said, fine, let them eat Mar-a-Lago cake. Tremendous cake. Then two judges told me to pay half. Half, which is perfect because I only ever planned to feed half the country anyway. And yes, I threw a Gatsby party. They call it bad optics. I call it classy starvation awareness. You ever seen Biden throw a champagne party for the poor? No. I did it for the optics. Gold optics. The fake news says I'm turning the White House into Versailles. Wrong. It's Versailles with better ratings. Wait till they see my new coin, me, on the dollar. Finally, money you can trust. Trump change.
Welcome to Poorly Educated in the News. It's day 41, and the shutdown is over. And Trump just handed out 77 golden pardons like Oprah on election denial day. You get a pardon. You get a pardon. Rudy Giuliani grinned so wide his hair dye started leaking patriotic colors. The White House called it national reconciliation, which must be Washington talk for "I forgive you for the coup" thing. He even excluded himself. Smart move. Keeps the crown shiny. Meanwhile, the government's broke, planes ain't flying, and 42 million folks can't get SNAP benefits. But at least Trump's friends can get brunch again. All right, y'all, welcome to Poorly Educated News, where we read bills so you don't gotta squint at 'em. So Washington done slipped a full-blown hemp ban inside the shutdown bill, like it was mashed potatoes hiding under gravy. They changed the rules, so anything stronger than lawn clippings is now basically a federal felony. Delta 8? Gone. THCA flower? Gone. Gummies? Only legal if they weaker than sweet tea at a church picnic. They say it's for safety, but funny how the alcohol folks and big weed companies are smiling like a possum at a fish fry. I guess nothing fixes a crisis like banning gas station happiness.
Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News, where the truth ain't stranger than fiction. 'Cause fiction keeps tapping out. Boy, Trump's pardons got signatures so identical they look like he autographed them with a rubber chicken. They said it was a technical error, which is what I call it when I forget my cousin's birthday. And he's pardoning folks faster than my uncle erases his browser history. Strawberry, Casada, even that crypto fella who probably mined Bitcoin in his sleep. Meanwhile, Congress is arguing about releasing the Epstein files like it's the world's worst season finale. Shutdown ended. Georgia case popped back up. And Trump's threatening to sue the BBC for $5 billion. Buddy, if I had that kind of confidence, I'd still be married. Well, y'all, it's day 33 of the Trump shutdown, and things are spicier than a gas station burrito at 2 a.m. The government's still closed, folks ain't been paid in a month, and 42 million Americans almost lost their food stamps till two judges tag-teamed the White House like legal WWE. Judge McConnell literally quoted Trump's truth post in his ruling. That's like your grandma using your meme as evidence in court. Treasury says they won't appeal, but Trump's online saying it's illegal to feed people. That's right, he's arguing against snacks. Meanwhile, he's threatening to go fast and vicious on Nigeria, which sounds less like policy and more like his new monster truck tour. Tonight he's on 60 Minutes to explain it all, which I reckon will last about 6 before he storms off blaming Leslie Stahl for inflation. Stay tuned. We're only one more crisis away from a free bingo. Well, folks, it's day 33 of Trump's big, beautiful shutdown, and the country's looking like a Walmart at midnight before payday. The president told 60 Minutes he won't be extorted, which is rich, because I'm pretty sure the entire nation's been extorted out of paychecks and groceries. He's cut off food stamps, told judges to buzz off, and now 42 million Americans are playing Survivor, grocery store edition. Meanwhile, air traffic controllers ain't been paid, so I'm flying with more faith than Delta Insurance. Trump's out here saying Democrats are the problem while his own party's too scared to nuke the filibuster. At this rate, the only thing getting fed in America is his ego. And maybe that Mar-a-Lago buffet.
Folks, it's day 37 of the Trump shutdown, and let me tell you, longest shutdown in history. Nobody's ever shut down a government like I have. They said it couldn't be done, and I said, watch me not do it. We've got 1.4 million workers either not getting paid or pretending to work for free. Truly an economy built on volunteerism. Air traffic controllers are working without pay, which is great practice for the passengers who'll soon be flying without pilots. And the USDA can't decide how much food to give people. It's like Wheel of Misfortune. Spin the dial. Maybe you get 65%. The fake news says it's chaos. I call it leverage. Congress won't pass my clean bill. The courts are questioning my tariffs, and my own senators are telling me no. Sad.
Well, folks, welcome back to Poorly Educated. Trump shutdown in the news, where America's on day 38 of the world's longest unpaid vacation. The FAA's cutting flights like a bad X from your phone. 10% fewer planes in the sky, which is great news if you hate travel or oxygen. TSA's working free. Air traffic controllers are calling in sick with a case of no paycheck, and airports are now 5-hour escape rooms. Meanwhile, Trump's yelling for Senate Republicans to terminate the filibuster, but they're treating that idea like it's one of his NFTs, overpriced and best ignored. Democrats are celebrating election wins, calling it a bolt of lightning, while 42 million Americans are getting their food stamps cut to 65%. That's not a diet plan. That's government keto.
All right, first up, we got ourselves a humdinger of a story. The U.S. government shutdown has entered day 39, the longest in history. Yep, they done shut the place down longer than my cousin Earl's pickup being in the shop after he backed into the barn. The upper chamber, the United States Senate, convened on a Saturday, which for redneck lawmakers is like going deer hunting on a Sunday. Weird and probably necessary. They're meeting, but according to reports, there's no signs of an imminent breakthrough. It's like watching two tractors try to tow a stubborn mule uphill. One side's kicking, the other's braying, and neither's moving. The House of Representatives ain't even there. They're on a district work period, which in redneck terms means they're fishing, or else. So the Senate's left holding the barn door while the horses run off.
Well, folks, it's day 40 of the government shutdown, which means America's officially broken its own record for political stupidity. The Senate's working weekends now, which is crazy. These folks don't even work weekdays. Democrats say they'll open the government if they can keep Obamacare subsidies. Republicans say no, and Trump's over there on Truth Social yelling, "End Obamacare," and "End the filibuster," like he's trying to end Jeopardy categories. The economy's losing billions, planes ain't flying, and federal workers are picking up DoorDash shifts. Meanwhile, 42 million Americans on SNAP are caught in legal limbo. Some states sent full food benefits before the Supreme Court slammed the brakes. Justice Jackson's like, "Hold up, y'all. Nobody eats till I figure this out."
Well, folks, Washington just turned into a high school group chat from hell. Democrats dropped 3 smoking gun Epstein emails about Trump, and Republicans responded by dumping 20,000 pages of random nonsense, like someone hitting "select all" on a printer. The White House called it fake, the Dems called it justice, and Trump called it the Epstein hoax, which is what he also calls Monday. Meanwhile, Repa Grijalva's finally getting sworn in after 49 days of foot dragging, so she can sign that 218th spot to force a vote on releasing all the Epstein files. You'd think Congress would agree on that, but nah, they treat transparency like it's gluten. Oh, and Ghislaine Maxwell's allegedly getting spa treatment in prison while writing her own commutation request. Only in Trump's America can the Epstein saga come with room service.
Y'all, welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News, where we don't just learn things, we trip over them like a toddler in cowboy boots. So the Trump folks done turned the whole Department of Education into a garage sale. Labor grabbed K-12 like it's a Black Friday TV, Interior took Indian Ed like they called dibs, and states now teaching foreign languages, probably starting with help. HHS got childcare, which honestly is just babysitting the babysitters. Democrats are hollering it's illegal, Republicans say it's efficiency, and I'm sitting here wondering if my GED gets transferred to the Department of Agriculture next. Also, Epstein files hitting the president's desk, so brace yourself, America. We're about to learn more than any of us wanted for free.
Welcome back to Poorly Educated Trump in the News. Trump done shut down all the sky over Venezuela like he's padlocking the family fridge before a holiday. Caracas fired back by stopping deportation flights, which is real awkward because that was kind of the whole plan. Meanwhile, Trump's holding Ukraine peace talks in Florida, 'cause nothing says diplomacy like a strip mall conference room. Northwestern's paying $75 million for being too woke. The White House is posting a burn book for reporters, and Pete Hegseth swears he didn't yell, "Kill everybody," which is exactly what someone who yelled, "Kill everybody" would say.
Trump done declared Venezuela's whole sky closed, like he owns the clouds. He warned pilots, drug dealers, and traffickers, which is funny because I'm pretty sure those last two ain't filing flight plans. Venezuela fired back, shut down deportation flights, which kinda ruins Trump's whole yeet 'em back strategy. He banned third world migration after that DC shooting, froze visas, halted asylum, and tossed 500 more troops in the capital like seasoning on fries. Meanwhile, Hegseth's denying he ordered a kill everybody strike. Always a great sentence to hear from a defense secretary. And Trump launched a media offenders list, 'cause nothing screams freedom like government Yelp reviews. All that, plus vaccine crackdowns and an AI project called Genesis, which sounds like either a science mission or a cult, and I ain't sure which. Let me tell y'all something. Today's news looks like the whole world got drunk and tried to square dance. So Trump's running the UN now like it's his HOA, chairing a board of peace for Gaza. 'Cause nothing says peace like putting Trump in charge of paperwork. Then he sold Saudi Arabia a whole herd of F-35s, like a Black Friday sale but with afterburners. Meanwhile, he's yelling he'll bomb cartels in Mexico. Buddy, you can't even get Taco Bell right after 10 p.m. And the Epstein files? MAGA folks fighting each other like a family reunion with no potato salad. This ain't diplomacy. It's NASCAR with nukes. Welcome back to the poorly educated Trump in the news. Boy howdy, Thanksgiving used to be about turkey. Now it's about Trump slamming the brakes on half the planet. One guard shooting in D.C., and suddenly he's launching reverse migration, permanent pauses, auto-pin witchcraft, and something called the Genesis mission, which sounds like he's building Robo-Jesus. I ain't saying he panicked, but when your immigration plan, tech plan, and foreign policy plan are all the same answer, kick 'em out. Maybe the turkey ain't the only thing overheated. In conclusion, this man pivoted so hard, he sprained America's ankle.
Welcome back, y'all. Today in the news, we got Washington, D.C. looking like it ordered one security crisis and got the family-size combo instead. 2 West Virginia Guard folks got ambushed right by the White House, which is basically America's living room. Now everybody's arguing whether the Guard is there legally, illegally, or just because somebody clicked the wrong button on Google Maps. The shooter's in the hospital, the troops are in critical condition, and the governor announced they died before unannouncing it.
Welcome back to Poorly Educated in the News, where government logic is like airline food. You paid for it, but it'll still make you sick. After 41 glorious days of the longest shutdown in history, the Senate finally voted 60-40 to talk about maybe someday reopening the country. That's right. 40 days of chaos, and they passed a test vote. Not a fix, just a pop quiz. Schumer voted no. 8 Democrats said yes, and Rand Paul voted nah, 'cause he likes chaos more than coffee. Planes were grounded, federal workers were pawning microwaves, and Congress called it negotiation. If it takes 41 days to agree on talking, imagine how long it'll take them to fix healthcare. Probably when pigs not only fly, but file for back pay. Well, folks, tonight's top weird headline ain't about politics for once. Praise be. It's about a giant glowing space jellyfish floating over the East Coast last night. People thought it was aliens, the Rapture, or maybe Taylor Swift's new stage effect gone rogue. Turns out it was just a European rocket dumping gas. So yeah, We saw intergalactic spaghetti in the sky, and it was just French fuel burps. Meanwhile, in Florida, monkeys rained from the trees onto kayakers. Because of course Florida can't let space have all the weird. Up in Chicago, the famous Splattatouille rat print. Turns out it was a suicidal squirrel who missed a branch and became sidewalk art. America's weird, y'all. Between rockets, rodents, and raining primates, the only thing missing was a watermelon ban in Indiana. Oh wait, we got that too.